Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I've got another Lionel locomotive collection video for you today. And we're going to look at mostly the MPC era of Lionel locomotives that I have in my collection. Before we get into that, just a couple little updates. As you can see, I took down the upper loop that was shown in the post-war video and the first layout video here. I just felt that the track supports was taking up just a little too much room, and I decided to tear it down for a little while and not make the layout so cluttered, and also widen the outer loop a little bit so I can run a slightly longer train on the outside loop and be able to run some of my more heavier locomotives at the same time and not feel like I'm limited to the lightweight ones in case the rails get so bent from the weight of those engines going over the supports, or gaps in the support, I should say. Also, the Marx engine is back on the layout. Shortly after I did the post-war video, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, bring it on over and I'll get it serviced and take it apart, see what's up with it." And he managed to do exactly that, and it runs fantastic now. The E unit sticks a little bit, so I'm just going to save it for the end of the video and run it with the last engine that'll be showcased here. This one won't be as long as the post-war video, so most engines are pretty much fairly the same, just different paint jobs. But what I love about the MPC era is you can get locomotives that look pretty close to some of their original post-war counterparts, like some of the electrics or some of the F3s, but you're paying for like a fraction of the cost. For someone like me who's not a hardcore collector who needs to get every single variation, I'm just more content with just running trains. As I said with the Trainmaster in the post-war video, if it looks like a post-war engine, even though it's got a reproduction or it's got a modern update to it, that's fine with me. I'm just happy to have something that looks like it. So to start things off, we're going to have the 8353 Grand Trunk Western GP7, produced between 1974 and 1977. This was the first MPC engine I acquired. I got it at the Train Barn in Portage, Michigan. Sadly, that store is no longer around, and the owner has passed away almost a decade ago. I do have, as you can see, for some of my previous videos with the Kalamazoo Model Railroad Club, and having some of my great grandpa's name plastered all over the layout, I do have a strong connection with model railroading in the Kalamazoo, Michigan area. But this engine, for what it is, it's a fairly nice engine. It's pretty lightweight compared to most. There is no heavy motor. It's just a circuit board wired to the trucks inside. So with it being so lightweight, every time it goes around a curve, it wobbles. I usually keep it, most of the time I keep my engines locked in a certain direction, but with this one, for some reason, even when I switch it to lock it in forward or reverse or whatever, it just doesn't stick and just decides to just cycle through all those 3 steps, so I just leave it as is. But and like pretty much I'm not going to say, oh, it runs smooth and all that, because pretty much all the MPC engines do, despite, with plastic gears I hear a lot of people don't like, but those can easily be replaced whenever it comes to that. They're relatively a lot quieter than some of the post-war engines. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this one. So we'll just take her for a spin. Next, we have the 8857 and 8858 Northern Pacific U36B duo from 1978. This is one of my more recent acquisitions. I picked this up at my local dealer just this last Christmas with some of the Christmas money I got last year. These, fantastic engine. These are in remarkably good shape. There's not a scratch on them. Quiet, smooth runners. Eventually, I may have to replace the traction tires on them, but luckily I have some left over. But they're really, like I said, for most of these, there really isn't a whole lot to say, so I won't talk too much. So let's just get her going. Up next, we have the 8654 and 8655 Boston and Maine GP9s from 1976. These are the MPC versions of the 2346 and 2359 GP9s from the post-war era. As you can tell, this was carried over pretty frequently into the MPC era, as the Boston and Maine Jeeps were pretty reasonably produced a lot, I would say, during the latter years of the post-war era before General Mills took over. I bought these pair, plus the caboose at the rear, for about $145 at a train show in Tampa, I think like 2009, 2010-ish. I don't exactly remember the exact date, but I've had them for a pretty long time. And again, that's the one thing I love about the MPC era. You can get engines that look like the post-war engines, but, they can get them for a fraction of the price, and they probably run just as good, if not better. So, a few little dings on the powered unit, and I think maybe one little scratch on the frame of the dummy unit. But for a while, the powered unit did struggle for a while, probably because when I bought it, it never came with traction tires. But luckily, I was able to buy some just a few years ago, and now she's able to grip the rails again. So let's just take her for a spin. next is the 8762 Great Northern EP5 Electric from 1977. I've always had a soft spot for Lionel Electrics, especially the EP5s, and the Great Northern one is my absolute favorite from the post-war era, the 2368. So when I saw this at my dealer back in mid-2020, and he had it on sale for like 120, I had to get it instantly. It was a complete impulse buy, so I'm happy to have this engine. Pretty much great shape. It's a little finicky on the curve sometimes, I guess. Maybe it makes this weird little squawk. I guess you could say what that is when it goes around a curve, or some rattle. I really can't really figure what that is. If anybody knows, please feel free to let me know what that is. But yeah, this is just nice electric. I just love being able to have something different besides steam and diesel on this layout. So here we go. And now we have another EP5, the 8558 Milwaukee Road EP5 from 1976. This was the first electric engine I bought. I got it at a train show in Tampa, I want to say 2008 maybe, for like 140. And when with the Great Northern EP5, I love the Milwaukee Road one as well. But I also personally prefer the paint job on this version compared to the original post-war. To me, I think the paint work on this engine is a lot more accurate to a actual Milwaukee Road Little Joe. The orange and the red on the original post-war just feels maybe just a tad shade too bright. And so I just feel like the color shades and the tone is more accurate to a Milwaukee Road Little Joe, especially in the later years of the Milwaukee Road. Before they were ripped up their Pacific extension and pretty much fell into bankruptcy. So yeah, pretty much engine is in mint condition. Slight rust on the pantographs that comes from the Florida weather. When I had left it outside in my parents' garage for about a month before covering it up. Humidity's bad in Florida. And right here, there's a little crack right underneath the screw, I think, that bolts the headlight to the frame, or whichever goes here. But I heard that is pretty common with these models. The people at the Lionel factory would just put them on there just a little too tight, and they would just get cracked prior to shipping or during shipping, whichever would happen. So yeah, pretty much just a nice little engine to have. So let's just see what you can do. Alright, the last electric we have is the 8659 Virginian rectifier from 1976, the MPC version of the 2329 from 1958, I believe. That's probably 57, 58, whichever year it is. Yeah, it pretty much looks exactly like the original, so I'm more than happy to have this version as opposed to forking over a large sum of money for the original when it pretty much just operates like a regular GP9, especially since it's built on a GP9 frame. You know, it's just really smooth runner. You know, I picked this up at a train show here in Kansas City back in 2019 for a little over $100, so it's nice to have a version of the engine that looks like the original. I'm emphasizing that. It looks like the original, but, you know, it's just nice to have something that looks like it. I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but that's all I really have to say about these engines. These are just fun trains to really have. And I really wish people would, start seeing that these do have some collector value just as much as the post-war version, especially since they've been around for probably about just as long. So, and hopefully young collectors or young operators can look more into these and say, hey, I want a toy train layout, but I want to at least look into some MPC stuff as well. So we'll just take it for a spin before we get to the last engine. Alright, and just to wrap things up, we come to the Bicentennial Special made for the Train Collectors Association in 1976. And as I mentioned in my first video showcasing my layout, when I bought this, it came with everything. The train, a little plaque, pamphlets, operating manual, advertising, certificate of authenticity, which are in the box. I don't feel like taking them out right now. So far, yeah, this is my favorite piece from the MPC era I own so far. I bought this at a train show earlier this year in Lawrence, Kansas, and eBay listings usually go for like $350, $375, maybe $400. I bought this for a little over $100, and it came with everything. So I really love the Bicentennial scheme on not just this engine, but its real life prototype as well. And I also have a Atlas HO model, which I should have dug out for this video, but that's too, oh well. But yeah, this, everything in this train is just in remarkable shape. Maybe some light little rustings along the top of the frame of the engine, and traction tire will need to be replaced at some point. But and a light bulb in the observation will also need to be replaced. But I'm just happy to really have a legit full complete set, and hopefully at some point the collector value of it does go up a little bit, maybe. Say like maybe up to 600, 700 maybe. Who knows what that'll be like in the future when it comes to MPC trains. So, and just like I said, I just hope more people are involved with the hobby, start getting more MPC stuff and realizing they are just as collectible as the post-war and the pre-war, the standard gauge, and to some extent maybe some of the Kuhn era stuff as well. I don't have very many Kuhn era pieces, so I'll probably just have to do a video showcasing all my Lionel engines from 1986 to today, if you can say that. But yeah, we'll just take the TCA train for a spin, and we'll take the Marks engine out for a spin as well, and we'll see you all next time.